Okay, there we go. For some reason, my mic was not working. I think there's some glitch. What do I have in here? Bunch of wheat. No, that's how we can start this. We're gonna feed cows. Honestly, I should probably be in bed. It's 4 in the morning. But, when you feel like talking about something, it's better to just do it, I feel like not enough people talk about things that they think are important just because they don't think there's the time or nobody can listen to them. Which I completely understand because that's how I am to an extent. If it's like a personal thing that's affecting me, the odds of me talking about it with people, even like the ones that I trust, is so extremely low. Because I don't want to put the burden on them. Which I know that's stupid because it's like they'll probably, most of your friends would say like they would feel completely fine and like nothing bad about hearing about your stuff. But that's not everybody, and until you figure it out, that might not be anybody. Like there's the friends you could say anything to, and then there's like the friends that are like there for so we can have fun and they don't want to hear about your problems. Which you could think of as selfish, but you could also look at it the other way, that it's extremely selfish to think that they are ready and or willing to hear about negative things. Um, it's kind of weird to spring that onto people, if that makes sense. Um, but yeah, that's very much how I am with the little bros. Chill. All right, I ain't gonna kill you then. Never mind. When it comes to talking to people, I don't do it. I hardly ever reach out about anything. If I do, I downplay it and make it seem like it's not affecting me as much as it really is. Um, I just don't want it to change how people perceive me. And I know not everything's about your image on paper, but whenever you do things in front of people, even if they say that it's not that big a deal, that's gonna stay in the back of their mind for the foreseeable future. At least if you ask me. I could just be reading into it too much, but I don't judge to that extent. But I won't sit here and lie to you and say it doesn't pop into my mind when someone's telling me about stuff. Like when certain friends, not all of them, when certain friends talk to me about their issues, especially if they're reoccurring, a lot of the time, I, which it's not probably like the greatest thing, but I will I'll just be thinking when it's the recurring issue, like, how do I say this without sounding like an idiot? Whenever it's certain things, like easily fixable problems, like I, holy shit, even my arm is about to break. Uh, Stuff that's like very easy to fix, like, oh, I've been having such and such issue, like how do I say it? I'm going through relationship problems where she treats me like dirt. Break up with her, bro. Like, you're holding on to something, like, you're like holding onto a rope and it's on fire and you're just being harmed. And there's no benefit to holding onto the rope. The only thing on the end is like more hurt, more pain, more bad feelings that are just gonna linger the longer you hold on to it. And once you drop it, you might feel the relief immediately. You might think you made a mistake. You might try to undo it, but you should likely never go back to whatever it was that was making you feel that way. And that's what I'm thinking. And sometimes I get to a breaking point where I'm just like, dude, I've got to be honest with you. And a lot of my friends, they know going into it when they're talking to me that I'm going to tell them the truth and exactly how I feel and exactly what I think they should do. They come to me for advice, or sometimes they just come to me to tell me shit. And I gotta be brutally honest, because if I'm not gonna do it, who else in their life is? Everyone around them. I'm not gonna say that everyone's fake, but a lot of people um just spout shit and lie. You see it a lot in female friend groups, like the body positivity movement, which is, I've never been a fan of it, because if you were really positive about your body, you wouldn't be putting the shit into it that's making you appear the way that makes you feel bad. And then seeking validation without doing the work, it invalidates everything, by human nature, and even just nature in general in the wild. Certain attributes in animals and people just work better. Like birds is a good example, like specific colors or stuff like that, or peacocks for that matter. The whole looking weird thing, that's so the males can impress the females. And it's just, unfortunately for you, most people, well, not most people, but unfortunately for those kind of people, being overweight is advantageous, and you have to be that honest with people, because I'm not gonna lie to you to make you feel better. That's never been something I've done. It's never something I will do, unless it's like one of those things where it's, they just need to have a little hope, almost like a fake it till you make it. But that's almost completely different, if you ask me. We'll take the steaks. Yeah, fuck it. Where was I going with this? But yeah, whenever I'm talking to people, I can't get the thought out of my head that they're not exactly gonna judge me, but they're always gonna remember that thing that I told them about, whether it is an insecurity or an experience I've had or how I'm feeling at the time, and they're just gonna think this guy is I don't want to say unstable, but like not as confident or sure of himself as I previously thought, because I'm a fairly confident person. I've been told that a lot, and it shows when I'm with people. Like, I'm not scared to do a lot of things for the sake of looking foolish or whatever. Like, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna be confident in myself about it. There's no having self-doubt. If you doubt yourself at everything, oh, because I've never tried it before or whatever, you're likely never going to succeed at anything, because you're giving up before you even get your foot in the door. It's a very big detriment that a lot of my friends deal with, that they have very low self-esteem, self-worth, confidence issues, and I don't really have that problem. To an extent, everybody has their own problems and their own vices to help them deal with their problems and such. But I feel like when I go to somebody and I'm like, yeah, I haven't been feeling the best, that's exactly how I'll phrase it. Meanwhile, I've been thinking about if I just never existed all day, thinking about all the shit that I've done and will probably continue to do, by accident, on purpose, doesn't matter, it's still something I did, or something that happened to me or some shit, and I'll just downplay it, like I'm saying, it's like, oh, I just haven't had a great day. Like, meanwhile, I'm going through it and really could use someone to talk to, but in the first place, I'm not going to talk to everybody about my issues, because not everybody needs to know them, for one. And two, there's only certain people I would trust with that information, because it wouldn't be the first time I told somebody something and they like went and told other people, or used it against me later. Which, that's not exactly a dock to the person I'm like would tell. Like, they might not do that, but better safe than sorry. Reaching out is just like the hardest part, honestly, because it's the same friends that I would tell this kind of stuff to, or the friends who come to me when they need help, the friends that come to me when they have an issue, like, I'm almost always the first person someone will call when something's going wrong or they need advice or just need to talk to somebody. And this is going to sound selfish, but it's a very stressful position to be in, because you say the wrong thing, you come across the wrong way, and you know, they may never talk to you again, and if they can't talk to you, who are they going to talk to? So it's very scary. I wish this upon nobody. 7 different times I have been someone's, what would have been their last phone call, their last reach out, their last hope before they were going to commit suicide. 7 different times. That not all of those were different people. Some of them were the same people. But the fact that it's happened that much to me before I even turned 17, say I'm 19 now, is it's kind of wicked. I don't think anybody should have that kind of pressure on them, especially not a child or a teenager, if you will. You know, they're still younger than 18, so on paper they're a child, and based on experience in the world, you could still say that, you know. And it's very scary, because the whole time I'm worried about, you know, losing this person who's important to me, and they're not really thinking about that. They're thinking, like, why should I even care? Because they've gotten to a point where they've perceived their life as so bad, they don't want to be here anymore. And trying to communicate to someone else that they shouldn't be as hard as it is living in the United States of America, you know. I mean, freedom and such, you know, but that's just not cutting it anymore. Especially when year by year, day by day, it feels like the freedom is more and more of just a word and less of a meaningful, important thing to the people that live here, you know, or well, to the government that runs it while we live here. Like the job market would be a perfect example. You know, if I can't get a job, I can't pay to live, and nothing's free. That's just not how it is. There's not a universal base income yet or anything like that. I mean, there's outlets like, if you're broke, you can get like unemployment, you know, food stamps if you're lucky. Well, you actually have to have a job to get food stamps now. But you see what I mean? It's like, I think the statistic I seen from, I think it was a Jet Frenzen video, was 40 years ago, the average person had to send out 3 job applications to land a job. That number is now like 1,200 or something just to get a job. I'm not talking about, you know, all the interview processes and the waiting and the time in between each of those applications, because no one's sending out that many at once. Because nobody thinks it's that hopeless yet. Like, everybody knows it's bad, but it's all about the optics in which you're seeing it. And for a lot of us, it's a slow burn, because it's like, I've been out of a job since November personally, and have had no luck with even getting an email back. Like, you can't even send a rejection letter until like way down the line. I remember back when I was applying to jobs when I was still in high school, I applied to, I think, a Sonic or a Subway. I didn't get a response till I was already graduated, and I applied while I was still in school, because it wasn't very long after I think I had been fired from my first job at a different fast food place. And I had a friend who, okay, it must have been Subway, because I had a friend who worked at Sonic, and I wanted to go work with him, because I was like, fuck it, he's my friend, you know, it's fast food, it can't be too different. And you know, having someone to talk to while working would have been nice. I did get to the interview process with Sonic, and they were like, nah. I don't know why. They had... I don't know if they would have had a better candidate. Like a middle-aged single mother, maybe? And I guess because I was still in high school, it was a problem. I don't know, man. But yeah, that's a big problem. People my age can't get jobs. People who are graduating can't get jobs because, like I said, job market's fudged, and that's around the that's every job except for maybe blue collar. I mean, of course, if you're working on granddaddy's farm, you know, you're pretty locked in, or you know, welders and stuff, they're always needed. But what I've noticed is even the people that want to work blue collar don't want to stay in that category forever. I've a lot of my friends who I've talked to about blue collar jobs and stuff, they always say, yeah, it's a means to an end. I'm going to do this for a little while, and the second I have enough money, I'm retiring and I'm never working again. Or the second I have enough money, I'm gonna like invest or start my own business or whatever, right? Like nobody today, which is a good thing, honestly, because people should be thinking like this with the way the world is, wants to stay in a job and work up the corporate ladder anymore. It's about getting the freedom to, you know, live out your days instead of having to work till the day you die. Which, unfortunately, for most of us, we're gonna work till we die. Which shouldn't have to happen. Like, to anybody. I know we're always gonna need workers, but it's not like we're not constantly having children and there will always be new, younger people to come work. Why are there 50-year-olds still working? Why are there grandparents who are on their third bout of breast cancer still working? Shouldn't be like that. Now, working by choice and working by necessity, completely different. If you're fucking 60 years old and you want to run a little coffee shop, all power to you, man. That's amazing. Now, if you're 53, you got 3 grandkids, and you're having to work at Walmart as a cashier because you can't afford to live and your family can't afford to take you in, that is wrong. And anybody who's saying that isn't, or is defending the fact that that can even happen, just imagine that being your mother or your father, grandparents, anybody in your life, you know? I think you would change your perspective pretty quickly. Unless you hate your parents. And then in that case, you've got deep-rooted problems that don't start with your opinions on that. I'll take an oak sign. Let me get to what I was getting at. You know, I was talking about myself, and now I just started talking about everything else. Did I already check this? Like I was saying, I don't ever really reach out, and I believe, like I was saying earlier, like, if I'm that person that people go to, if I start going to them and telling them about my problems, they're not going to want to come to me anymore, because they're going to know that I'm not perfect, I'm not as confident and headstrong about myself as I think I am, and they'll be consumed with the thought every time they want to reach out and talk to me that I have my own problems and that I'm not going to have room for them in my day, or that I'm not going to be able to give them my full attention because of my problems or whatever it is. You know, to that is pretty much the extent of it. Like, I don't want them to be worried about me to the extent where they won't reach out to me because they're so worried about me being affected by whatever it is they're going to tell me, or them thinking that they're overriding me by, like, saying their life is worse or something, you know. They want me to be the comforting, like, confident, helpful guy, and the illusion breaks once they know that I'm not that. So I kind of got to keep that up, you know. Everybody has their flaws. But, you know, it's just saying that doesn't do anything because people constantly have fake romanticized thoughts of the people they know in their mind. Like, you think of one of your friends, you're like, oh, he's great, he's always happy, he's always making everyone in the room laugh and all that such stuff. But how well do you know that guy? You know, how much does he talk about his stuff? Or is it you talking and him listening and then, like, giving commentary on what's going on in your life? You just think about that for a minute. And then you might want to go check on that guy, because that guy is me. That's how it's always been, you know. I've tried to open up to people who, like, weren't exactly people I, like, grew up with or, like, knew for a long time. Like, people I met, we hit it off. Mostly women, which is, I shouldn't have been putting them in that position, but, you know, let me get to what I'm saying. Is it doesn't help, for me at least. I kind of get the same, aw, shucks, that sucks. Anyways, this is what my day was. You know, this is how my day entailed. That's pretty much what happens every time. And I don't want you to throw a pity party. I just want you to understand, like, what I'm going through. And that's not the response I get. Like, I want you to hear what I'm saying and understand that I'm another human with full experiences of my life, and that right now maybe I just need to hear you say that it's going to be okay, and you're not doing that. You're trying to be like, oh, it could be worse, which a lot of times is enough for people, you know, like, it could be worse. But what does that do to help them with their situation? Nothing. It just, instead of getting their mind off the problem they're having now, they're thinking about how it could get worse, or how it could have been worse, not how it can get better. Because saying it could be worse, it could be better too. And some people just need help getting to the part where they're better, you know? I don't know, it's hard to explain. And the people I have opened up to about stuff, I kind of feel bad for them, because honestly, it's usually unprompted. It's just like, they text me and I'm like, you know, usually I'll text a lot because I like to talk to people, and I just won't. And they'll be like, what's going on with you? And I'm like, well, they fucking asked, so let me give them the full fucking trauma dump on what's happening to me. Rarely ever received right, because when someone asks how you doing, yeah, apparently it's not socially accepting to actually tell them the truth. You freaking prick. Where was I before I got attacked by the evil polar bear of doom? Yeah, I just give them, like, the super breakdown on everything, and it's usually just met with, like, we'll go from texting full conversations to, like, short texting, you know, dry texting, however you want to say it, you know. I don't really like the term dry texting. It implies you're trying to get something out of it, which you really shouldn't be. You know, it's not, there's nothing wrong with admitting you're trying to get something out of someone. At least you're transparent about it, but when you say dry texting, it's almost like only sexual in nature, if you ask me. It's like, oh, you're dry texting. It just has that negative connotation in my mind. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of wish I was born stupid, so I could just believe that everything's about me, and, like, nothing's terrible in the world and everything's sunshine and rainbows, you know. I don't know what, like, the saying is, or a statistic is, but I'm pretty sure, like, there's a correlation between, like, how smart you are and, like, quality of life. It's like, if I was just dumb and complacent with, like, a fucking Snickers and watching Netflix, you know, maybe my life would be better, because I wouldn't be thinking about these other things. But, you know, that's just not the case for me. You know, I like being smart and understanding things. And it does make me think about it sometimes, how I kind of let a lot of people down academically, because very many times have I had a teacher like get emotional and be like, "You're a great kid, you're like really smart and stuff. Like, why don't you try?" Because they're like, "You're so much smarter than everyone in here. Like, you're brilliant. You could be in better classes. You could be trying harder. You could have a straight A in here. But instead of doing that, you're gonna talk to your 3 or 4 friends that are in here and turn in your work as fast as possible instead of super tryharding, and you do your bare minimum on your homework." And every now and then they'll see a glimpse of like some great like academic work from me and just be like, "How do you not want to just keep going with this and like chase it down?" Which in that way, I guess I let a lot of my teachers down, and I guess my parents too, because they really wanted me to go to college. And the more and more I started to lean in the direction of not going, and I would talk to them openly about it, they kind of like got, like, you could tell they didn't want to hear that from me, you know? And then at another point, I decided I was going to go again and, you know, actually try to get into college. And this was already like senior year. I took AP 11th and 12th grade literature and English classes and such. But other than that, which I did that for fun because I had a friend in there, well, a few friends in there, and wanted to prove that I could do it. It wasn't even like I wanted to actually take the class for the sake of it being AP. I wanted to take it because I was told it was hard, and it was too hard for me. And I wanted to prove the person who told me that wrong. And I did. I did it 2 years in a row and passed both times and graduated. What the fuck? Bruh. Also don't know where I am. I'm completely lost in this game right now. But yeah, and then I decided to go back. I applied. I got accepted to the college that I wanted to go to and everything. And then backed out. I think I've told this story before. You know, and that didn't help any either. Because I already don't talk to my parents about a lot of stuff. I don't really want to get into why that much. Just, they don't really have my trust. You know? Once the illusion breaks that your parents are like the best people or are like really good on the moral compass, like once you start to see their flaws, you start looking at them more as just people instead of like guidance or a moral compass. So at a certain point, I stopped going to them to ask them stuff. You know, I would just do my own independent research on it. But, you know, like I said, I don't want to get too deep on that. But yeah, I've never really wanted to be academic. You know, I never really wanted to go to like college that badly. You know, I would love to be in the atmosphere of college. I love people. It's just being around them, joking with them, hanging out with them, learning about things with them. Being in that sort of environment where there's forced proximity, I would have probably made a lot of friends and met a lot of people. Probably would have learned a lot too. You know, it's college. I'm bound to have something that sticks with me. At least I would hope so. But I never ended up going. I kind of feel a little left out because like all of my friends went pretty much. Well, not all of my friends, but a lot of my friends did. And they talk about the stuff all the time. Sometimes they love it, sometimes they hate it. Most of the times they hate it. I don't know. Where was I even going with this? You know, I started off talking about not wanting to go and talk to people and open up to people. It's like, I'm completely fine when people open up to me. I actually encourage them to, because it's like, let's get this off your chest. You know, I can help you. And I wouldn't say I have a savior complex or anything where like I want to be seen as this big grand hero or anything. I just want to know that you're okay. however corny that sounds, you know. So it's like if somebody starts to talk on something, I don't very much pry as much as I'm like, dude, you can tell me. You know, I have no problem with hearing whatever it is. So they lay it out on the table, you know, they just say everything. And that in itself does have an effect on you. I don't care what you say. You know, the stories I hear from people, if you actually have empathy or sympathy or anything like that, right? I can't remember the difference between them. I just know one of them, they pretty much mean the same thing. When people tell you something that's like tragic in their life, if you have any of sympathy or empathy, you will feel some kind of way about it, you know? And the things that I've known to happen to some of the people I'm friends with, like, it's crazy that that could happen to somebody. So I'm pretty much holding emotional baggage from not only myself, but a lot of people I know. And when you have to be that person who's hopeful and can tell everyone it's going to be all right, you need them to believe you, and that's not going to happen if they know you're also going through the same shit. At least that's how I perceive it. Which, it's weird that it's a double standard for myself, because like I said, I encourage people to open up when they need to talk about something. It's just probably not uniquely my problem, but amongst the people I know, it's a unique issue. Honestly, I got on here to talk about a completely different thing and just started rambling. I don't even know how I got here. I just started talking. I don't know, it just kind of... There's a lot of stuff that sucks. Like, my dating life has been the equivalent of checking the fridge every 5 minutes, expecting there to be something new to eat, but the only thing that changes is my standards get lower. And eventually I'll pick something out. And I don't want that to happen, because I've never been the, holy shit, I've never been the person who wants a surface level, or I guess like surface level relationship or anything like that. You know, I want something meaningful, and you're not going to find that in a bar, you're not going to find that at a party, you're not going to find that in a lot of places. And I know I have a super romanticized thought of how it should happen in my head. It's probably not going to happen like that, honestly. I would say most of the people in my life that I very much care about and have good relationship with, and the women who I've had relationships with, even just like friends or situationships or dating, whatever, I've met them in like the least suspecting places. You know, a lot of my friends I've met in school, but we bonded through other stuff. You know, and doing things outside of school. And there's been plenty of people I've met outside of school who, without the forced proximity needed, we still, you know, talk and stuff. But, you know, it's just hard, because I might just be the biggest overthinker the world has ever seen, or maybe I just am not willing to drop my standards to such a level that a lot of people do. Because I value myself and I value other people. So why would I get into a relationship I don't care about, or with a person that I don't actually like? That's how I see it. That's the optics I have for it. Let me grab my notepad. I can't remember where my house is. Okay. Hey! That's rude. Okay, I'll look at that when I'm safe. As I was saying, shoot, what was I saying? Dude, I missed your loose track of train of thought. I've never, like I said, I care about people and I care about myself. I know I have a self-worth, to an extent. You know, I have my own self-worth issues sometimes, but it's like an on and off thing occasionally. I'm not afraid to admit it. You know, I've had thoughts where I'm just like, I'm the worst person who's ever lived. which is crazy to say when, you know, there's some pretty bad people out there. And I base it purely off of, like, things I've done to people. Like, let it just be I said something mean or whatever it is. And, you know, there's no shame in admitting I feel that way. Because I feel like a lot of people do. But I've met so many people, and even some friends, who, once they get out of a relationship, they're so quickly into the next one that they don't even really know the person. They're just, and I've had people say, like, I've had people admit this when I bring it up and I call them out for it. I'm like, you are so scared to be alone that you would rather have a surface level relationship that's going to end just as bad or even worse than the last one did, just so you don't have to go to bed at night and wake up in the morning each and every day knowing you're alone. And I get the copium, you know, I get the copium on that. But it does not justify using someone for what is essentially pleasure, because that would be the only reason you would be with them, to, like, make yourself feel better, if you don't actually care about them the way you say you do. And even some of them don't even get to the point where they say they do. Some of them just, like, openly do not give a shit about the other person. And are just like, you can ask them stuff about their relationship when they're together, like common teasing, you know, when you're around friends who are dating and stuff. And they get so uncomfortable. Like, it's insane. It's almost like they're strangers, but they're both so scared to have the social aspect be removed, because you are viewed differently when you're not in a relationship. It's like your value is completely different. Because for some reason, once you're in a relationship, now you're more interesting. And that goes for both sides. I will say that from my experience and from my observations, it's less so for women. Like, a single woman, from, you know, what I've seen in my life, gets a lot of attention. Especially if it's like a surprise that they're single. It's like, oh my god, you're single? Like, that thing, that is crazy. Like, how much random people will just automatically assume just because you look good, you must be in a happy relationship or something. And that scares a lot of people away from you. I'm not saying I have this issue, but I've seen people like this, that it's like, you could have fooled me, you know. It's like, you could have told me a random dude's name and I would have totally believed you. But yeah, that's no good either. And if I'm being completely transparent, it gets to a point, being single. I've been single since 2020. So we're going on 6 years. It gets to a point where you start thinking you should just fold and do what everyone else is doing. You know, going out to parties, having sex with random people, and that kind of stuff. Like having surface level relationships where you really don't get along or agree on anything. You have like no chemistry, no compatibility, and you're just still together. Because I was like, maybe it is better to just not be alone. But I can never make myself do it, because I always just remember, it's like, how would it make them feel if they found out they were only there because I couldn't live with just being with myself all the time and with friends? Because it's a completely different thing. You can have a great, extremely personal relationship with your friends to the point where you're almost family, or you feel as though you are family, but you're still not going to get the same whatchamacallit, you're not going to get the same what are the words, you're not going to get the same experience, you know? Like, I love my friends, but there's things I will not tell them. You know, there's things you would tell to a person you're in a relationship with, but you wouldn't tell to a friend, you know? There's experiences, things you would do, places you would go, changes that you would make in your life, risks that you would take from a relationship instead of a friendship. So it's like, I'm blessed to have great friends, but on the dating front, I have no luck at all. And honestly, I know I'm not the only person who has that issue, but mine's even more to an extreme, just purely based off the fact that I will not let the fact that I'm single or alone or lonely, whatever, lower my standards. Or, and when I say that, I don't mean like lower my standards like I will only date a 10. That's not what I mean. It's more so like I won't get with someone that I know I don't like. And I'm tired of people pretending that attraction doesn't play a factor. It does. It does. It 100% does. If you're with someone you're not attracted to, or you're not attracted or attractive to them, it's not gonna last. You know, that's something that has probably ended a lot of relationships. Like, people get fat or out of shape, or, you know, something happens, and then they just like can't even bear to look at them because they're so different from when they started or whatever. And it's like, you would let yourself go like this knowing that, you know, I've met people who've had that situation happen to them, and I won't lower my standards for myself or for them, because I'm not gonna get with somebody who I know likes me, or like whatever, or someone I don't like that I know is willing to try it out just for the sake of intimacy or the status of having a relationship, because people, like I said earlier, will treat you different for that. And I remember I really started thinking about it one time because I went to a party with a friend, and I didn't party a lot in high school. I rarely went, but this was like graduation day. You know, like, we had just graduated, like took the cap and gowns off, whatever, went to a party that night. Walked like in there, and this is one of those parties where it's out in the middle of nowhere in somebody's house. And yeah, we talked to some people outside first that we like already know, who are like wasted. And we didn't like pregame this or nothing, because I don't even remember if we planned on going. I think it was like a last minute thing where we were just like, you know what, fuck it, let's do it. And like, first thing when I walked in, someone I've never met before, I'm not even sure they were my age or they went to my school, is hanging out next to her friends, and immediately, like, she's like standing at the door because it's so packed in there, like wraps her arms around mine and goes, "You single? Or do you have a girlfriend?" I can't remember. I think she said, "Do you have a girlfriend?" And like looked up at me, and I immediately just like disabled everything that's going on in my mind, and just was like, "I don't know you," and like walked away. I was like, "Okay," and just walked away. And nobody batted an eye. But if a guy did that to a girl, it would be like the biggest thing ever. You know, like, it'd be a lot of angry people. And I remember thinking back about that, like, why didn't I just take her up on her offer? And then I remember it as being like, in my mind, I was like, the fact that she was that desperate to reach for me, the second I walked in the building, didn't talk to me, nothing, told me everything I needed to know about her. And I was like, it's good to know that I have standards. And I wouldn't falter in a moment like that, where I could have just thought lustfully and was like, oh, I can just bag something tonight. I've been really good about that in my life. I've had a couple opportunities in my life where I could have, and I didn't. Just straight up turned it down. like, nah, it's not happening. You know, even with people who it would have been like really easy. You know, I look at it like it's something important, and not a lot of people do that anymore. You know, I don't think you should be going out and just having sex with anybody and everybody. I think that's an issue, and there's probably more on a deeper level wrong with you than you think there is. Just because it's the popular thing to do now, is to go and pretty much be a hoe, man or a woman, and like there's a social status that comes with having access to people like that. You know, and that's what a lot of people do. Those people aren't usually the greatest people, that or they have a lot of problems. I won't do it. I've told friends this because most of my friends have, with an exception of some who think like me. I'm like, I have to be like head over heels in love with someone for me to even consider having sex with them before it's an official relationship. Not like first date, second date, third date. I'm talking like we've had to go on like 5 to 7 and really like have hit it off great. Because I look at it like, you know, like I said earlier, you know, for one, you know, I think it's an important thing. And 2, there's always the chance of an accidental or purposeful pregnancy or whatever. And if you guys barely know each other, and then you come to find out you don't like this person, now you and your baby mama don't like each other, and you have a kid with someone you're not willing to spend your life with, you know. And it, on top of the fact that it's important in more than one facet too. It's not just the you could have a child with them thing. It's like, how do I say this? If you have an infinite amount of access to, let's say, bananas, you're gonna want the thing that is much less common, which is like an apple. You know, you're gonna want a burger. You're not gonna want the banana. You might get it here and there, but because it's so easy and common, you're not gonna want it. And if you're willing to give this stuff out to everybody, now everybody has it. It's not special anymore. And when you're exclusive with somebody and you don't only want the relationship for that kind of stuff, it becomes more important in your brain. Because instead of, you know, becoming like drinking water every day, or well, I guess if you're drinking water every day and then once a month you drink a Dr. Pepper, you're gonna value the Dr. Pepper more than someone who drinks Dr. Pepper every day. Because when you have it, it's a special event, it's an occasion, it's important to you. I guess would be how to describe it. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to put words to things. I did a butt ton of nothing, dude. Technically, I made progress because I got these. These are pretty good. Blast furnace. Blast furnace. Smoker. I have one more smoker. Fuck it. That doesn't look that bad. Maybe from the side it looks bad, but it doesn't matter. Do I have anything in my furnaces? I don't think so. LDL shop. What do you mean you don't know where to put the emeralds? Or I mean diamonds. I said fucking emeralds. Just someone stabbed me in the heart, dude. We shot right on the sign. Be chill and enjoy life, twin. Yeah, it looks better like that. But yeah, I guess that's what I'll talk about this time. Next time I'll talk about the thing that I wanted to come here and talk about, and then I got sidetracked and just went into a completely different topic where I was just spouting off a bunch of random stuff. I did upload on the main channel. It should be a pretty good video. I enjoyed making it. Put a lot of hours of editing into it. If you want to go check it out, I think I should have a link somewhere on my channel page. I'd really appreciate it. Hopefully you can find some sort of help from this, or I don't know, relate. I hope not, but you know, if you relate, I'm sorry. Have a good night and enjoy your life, dude.